Hey everyone, it is Krishna here, and I wanted to do a video today on balance. I know so many people, women especially, are always trying to find some sort of level of balance within your life, and it feels sometimes really impossible to achieve that, right? So I wanted to talk to you today about kind of dispelling some of the myths around what exactly balance is and how to achieve that union within yourself. First of all, I'm trying out, I've got a friend. Hey Lisa, hi honey. I have a friend who is helping set me up here. We're not 100% there yet, but we're changing where and how I do videos. I don't know if this works on live streams or not. No. Oh no, okay. It just gave me don't do that. So I'm gonna be recording my videos in this little setup here, and he's got it set up so a lot of my little favorite things are here, and my fireplace and all sorts of stuff. So I just have to order some equipment, and once I do, I'll have a whole new setup for my videos, which will be really, really cool. So I'm excited about that. But for now, so I'm gonna place this here. Can you still hear me if I do this? Lisa, I know you're on here. Can you still hear me? Looks beautiful, yeah. So just because of where the microphone is on these phones, I have it kind of resting on some books. So I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me while we're working on getting all this business going. So if you guys can just give me a thumbs up or something and just let me know that you can hear me fine, then I'll start with what I want to talk to you about. Okay, no messages are coming through, so can you not hear me? Can you hear me? Let me know. So it's not clear, but good. Okay, so it's probably because it's resting on something, so this probably is a little better. I'm gonna get a mic and all sorts of fun stuff. So anyway, all right. I'm gonna try to keep this as short as possible. I have notes so that I am not wasting your time with a bunch of ums and trying to collect my thoughts, which is how I normally do these channeled live streams. But anyway, okay, so why don't we talk about balance here for a second, and feel free to chime in with your view and opinion on it as well. So, and if you see me looking off, I'm just looking at my notes here. So, hi to everybody who's on here live. It says that there's a couple people on, so hello. Make yourself known if you want to say hello. I always love to know who's on here watching live. So, what does balance normally look like, right? We have this paradigm of what balance should look like, right? We've got play and work, rest, busy, chips, chips as in ketchup chips or whatever, or kale, right? Being lazy or being productive, right? What are some other ways that you see is balance, right? What do you think of when you think of balance? Those were just some off the top of my head that I could think of in terms of when we're looking at balance. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking at. But really, balance is a balance of the yin and yang. It is the balance of the masculine and feminine within us, okay? So stay with me because I'm gonna talk to you about what all this means, all right? So in case you didn't know, the yin and the yang, that famous symbol, is actually a representation of masculine and feminine energies. Every human, whether you're identified of a man or a woman, Lisa thinks of time, okay, yep. Whether you're a man or a woman, you have both masculine and feminine parts within you. So this isn't a gender thing. This is just simply energies and ways in which we express ourselves. And when we're out of balance, my arm's getting tired holding my phone. When we're out of balance in the masculine and the feminine energies within us, this is when we experience a lot of the overwhelm, a lot of the stress, a lot of that black and white sensation of not feeling balanced, where everything just feels super, super chaotic within our lives, right? And what I teach a lot of to my clients and what I practice on a daily basis is becoming centered within myself because chaos is going to happen. The shit's going to hit the fan. It just does. It's life. right? Everything is like dying and then coming back to life again, constantly in life. And so you need to be in your own centered balance in order not to get tossed aside like on a ship, right? And this is where that yin and yang comes in. And if you look at a yin and yang symbol, each, like the white has a black dot and the black has a white dot. And what those represent is that you can't be too much in your masculine, you need to have feminine. And you can't be too much in your feminine, you need to have that masculine. Otherwise, you're in the like imbalanced stage of all of these. So I'm going to talk to you about what this means now, all right? Yeah, we can't control what's happening in life. The only thing that we can control is what goes on up here. That's it, right? And the more we stop listening to this and listen to from here down, the more harmonious we are, the more balanced we are. Our mind is really only designed for problem solving and really only for other people, not necessarily for ourselves. And so when we get into the overthinking, when we get into trying to figure stuff out, we can really be causing a lot of problems for ourselves if we are not also balanced, pairing that with what is going on from the neck down. That means, how is your body responding to things? What are you feeling? What's your intuition? So I don't want to go too far off track here. I'm going to continue on. So most people are in imbalance because they are in the, unhealthy state of masculine and feminine, right? So the unhealthy yin or unhealthy feminine shows up as, somebody who's codependent, and this could be men or women, right? But somebody who's codependent, who's needy, someone who has no boundaries or very few, okay? Somebody who manipulates to get what they want, or somebody who withholds, right? If you're withholding love, if you're being petty about certain things, oh, he's not giving, so I'm not gonna give. If you, especially as women, if you are a martyr to giving, or you're over nurturing, right? Sometimes we see this with women with their partners, where they're over nurturing, or with their children, where they're over nurturing. They're giving way too much. They're being a martyr to the situation, and meanwhile, it's a choice, right? We don't have to do that. It's all conditioning. And so I said no boundaries already, right, or very few, and a general sense of laziness, maybe like a judgment or a criticism around laziness. So those are just some examples of when you're in your imbalanced feminine, how it shows up, all right? And then your yang, when you're imbalanced in your yang, it shows up as dominance. It shows up as aggression. Think about how many women entered the workforce way back when, right? Like, let's say in the 80s, right? Women, like, what the hell happened? Like, we went into the workforce and we were all shoulder pads, and that was years ago, yeah. We were all shoulder pads and we were all like walking around like we've got big penises and just like playing with the big boys, because there was no precedent set to how women should show up in the workforce, right? We were just pretending to be guys. And that set a precedence in business. And now women are just like, no, this doesn't work for us anymore. But there's also not a ton of education or information. There is, but it's not widely available or accepted yet about how powerful it is for women to be more balanced and aligned in their feminine, especially in the workforce. You get so much more done and way more efficient when you're operating within your own natural state, whether that's feminine or masculine. There are some women who operate way better in a healthy masculine. They have more yang energy. I know I have a lot of yang energy. A lot of masculine energy, and when it's nice and healthy and balanced, it's really beautiful, and it's a very strong container, and I am heard and I'm respected when I'm in that space. And then there's the flow and the feminine side of it as well, right? And so this is what women need to learn, especially in career, in order to not feel so freaking stressed out and overwhelmed all the time. Shoulder pads and pretending to have penises, it's true. I don't pretend I have a penis. Anyway, not anymore, at least anyway, I used to. So there's dominant, aggressive, critical, avoiding, unsupportive, unstable, and controlling. Come on, women. I know that a lot of you like control. Holy crap, I used to be the biggest control freak, like huge. And all of this comes from not having a balance within you, your own inner self, right? You are imbalanced. There's a story going on in your mind, patterns, self-doubt, worry, worthiness issues. I'm going to get into this in a minute. That is making you feel these things. That's making you feel like you need to be in control because everything feels out of control. So you want to control what you can, but really, truly, you can't, right? And so it is a matter of letting go and surrendering everything, and because you can't control anything anyway, and having a different viewpoint on that. So there's a ton of reasons why we're in this. Like we just talked about a second ago, right? Those shoulder pads and pretending to have penises and like how we were taught to like operate in the workforce, which is whack. And I think maybe now with everything that's changing with Corona and stuff, I'm just going to change my arm. Who knows? Like, I think that we are definitely heading for some hopefully more healthy things in the workforce, right? But TV and movies, right? Like, just look at how men and women are depicted on television movies. I can't watch TV anymore. It's just, it drives me crazy seeing how, like, imbalanced everybody is, and it's reinforcing it to us. Like, this is how we're supposed to behave? No. Parental lineage, right? Seeing, like, you know, for a lot of women, depending on your age, maybe seeing your mom in a domesticated state. Oh gosh, I keep hitting my coffee. I've already spilled it once. Bam! Seeing your mom in a domesticated state. Like, I know some of my clients who are like mid-40s and above witness their mother being like very domestic, very acquiescent to her husband, their dad, and they didn't like it. And so they went to the other extreme, which again is toxic masculine mixed in with the toxic feminine. It's not healthy, right? And so the work that I do with them is help them get back into that balance that's healthy and work on the programming that came with that parental lineage, right? Imbalanced partners, right? So if we're in a relationship with somebody who's imbalanced for whatever, because we're all human, just trying to make it work on this planet, right? So everybody has their stuff, everybody has their stories, and so there's a chance that you might be with somebody who's imbalanced, right? And their imbalance can make you imbalanced. So, you know, observe that as well. And this isn't to judge them, because we can't fix another unless you're a coach and they're hiring you to help you with that. But even still, can't fix another. They have to want to do it, right? And the only thing that you can do is get aligned and feel good in yourself so that you can then teach others to do the same. And some religions also teach repression as well. All right, so let's quickly talk about what does healthy feminine and what does healthy masculine actually look like, all right? Again, this is about balance. So balance isn't necessarily the more tangible things that you think about, right? Like having enough relaxation time and play time. That is true, but those are all symptoms of what happens when you, as an individual, are in balance, right? So all of those external things in your world start to become more in balance when you are more in balance. And you being in balance is this balance of the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, right? So I just talked about what the unhealthy feminine and masculine looks like. So now the healthy. So the number one thing about a healthy feminine is being receptive. And this is one of the biggest issues that I work on with my female clients is receiving, right? And I'll talk about why in a second. So receptivity, so that's receiving. Intuition, huge. Being in flow. Being wild. I had one of my clients the other day, In Feminine Rising, I was talking about how I went over to the beach and stuff, and she's like, oh, you're so wild. And I'm like, yeah, for sure I am, because I'm in my feminine, and feminine is wild. It's the ocean, right? So I own that. Nurturing, being surrendered, right? And emotive, of course. Like, we have expressions. We are allowed to be emotive, and which is very different than emotional. Being dragged around by your emotions is very different than being emotive. And healthy masculine is presence. I talk a lot all the time about presence, right? Presence. There's nothing else going on anywhere except for what is right here, right now. If you are outside of this moment, you are in the future or you're in the past. You're not present. And presence is all there is. Mountain, like being still like a mountain, taking action, being focused. So we know, like, if we go back to cavemen times, right? We know that, like, the men generally were the hunters and the gatherers, right? They were focused. They have a single focus. And anybody who's been in a relationship with a dude knows that, like, men can be very single focused, right? Whereas women, we have the ability to be able to see the periphery. We have very in-depth periphery seeing and sensing, because we have a higher intuitive sense to ourselves, right? But this doesn't mean that men don't have this too. It's just slightly different. It's just the way our brains are wired. So men are very focused, but women can also be very focused, of course. And just like women are very intuitive, well, men can also be very intuitive. Logical, and having boundaries, right? Having those firm boundaries and being giving. You know, men and the masculine loves to give, where the feminine loves to receive, right? So who's on here? Is anybody on here? Anyone else on here? So it's, where am I here? Oh, hang on, sorry. So why is this hard to achieve? Because it's so black and white, right? This is the thing that, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. Hi, Lisa. I've got all the Lisas on here. Love you guys so much. All right, so it's hard to achieve because we have very black and white thinking, all right? We think it has to be this or that. That's one of the things that I talk about with my clients a lot, is getting into the gray, getting into that balance area. It is not this or that, right? So that is what balance is. It is working on those pieces of yourself that are in those toxic or unhealthy spaces so that you can have that semblance of calm in the chaos, right? Which is why my free opt-in is called Calm in the Chaos, in order to balance us out. So, like, I basically show up on a day-to-day basis where I'm surrendered and I'm totally in flow. Like, I really, truly go with the flow. I never used to be like this. And I'm receiving. I receive all the time. It's fun. People open doors for me. People hold elevators for me. People give me free stuff all the time. You know, just like walking the streets, I receive. And I'm also giving. I'm giving a smile. I'm giving a wave. I'm opening a door for someone else. Like, there's always this beautiful energetic exchange back and forth. The other day I bought a woman who was living on the streets. I bought her some cigarettes and a sandwich and stuff, you know? Like, there's always a give and receive that happens on my day-to-day life. I do this with my children. I do this with my friends. I do this with my clients. There's always a back and forth giving and receiving. And when somebody wants to give me something, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I'll take that for sure, because I am in receptivity as being in my feminine. And yet there's very powerful boundaries here, very powerful boundaries. I know when to say no, and I say no without even thinking about it. And I am very present, very, very present, and highly intuitive, right? And that is how I roll on a day-to-day basis. And the challenges that people have around these particular pieces, and I'm almost done here, is really what we need to do is work, and this is the work I did on myself and the work that I help people with, right? We've got to work on the beliefs and the stories surrounding the words that I was just using, right? So let's look at receiving. The underlying root of women not being, and men not being able to receive is worthiness, right? It's like, it starts with like being able to receive even just a compliment and believing that, and then moving on to receiving more and more and more. And every time I receive something greater than what I had received before, I hit up a new level of, holy crap, this is a lot to receive, right? And there's a process that needs to go through, that we need to go through in order to settle into receiving that and feeling the worthiness of it, right? This is especially true when it comes to love, money, romance, opportunities, all that kind of stuff, so that we don't sabotage it when it shows up, right? Being intuitive means trusting yourself, right? I saw a meme the other day and I was like, holy shit. It was like, I can't trust myself, like, screw intuition, I don't trust myself, or it's always wrong. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not your intuition then. If you're thinking that you're trusting your intuition and it's always wrong, that's not your intuition. Your intuition is never wrong. You just might not like what your intuition is trying to tell you. And your intuition might be putting you on a path that's different than what your brain wants you to do. Remember what I said before, your brain isn't useful half the time when you're trying to create. You need to create from your heart and your soul, right? And so if you're struggling with your intuition, it's not that your intuition is wrong, it's that you're not trusting yourself. You're not really listening to it. You're probably listening to fear, and it's disguising itself as intuition. And there's a very discerning line between the two. And when you can figure that piece out for yourself, then you trust yourself. Like, trust yourself. Decisions become easier, so on, the rest of it, right? Wild. Let's talk about the wild for a quick second. Is what will people think? I know I have that one still, right? Like, I'm pushing edges all over the place, and there's still that party line of, oh my God, what are people going to think? Like, I walk around hugging trees and, like, just being in this joyful state, and every once in a while I'll be like, oh, people are looking at me weird, and it kind of stops me sometimes, and then I'm like, blah, boing, no, so what, right? But that's old conditioning. Those are old stories that keep me from being my fully expressed self, because there is in all of us an inherent fear of rejection, right? It's very primal. Some of this is all amygdala, which is our fight or flight system in our brain, right? So it's just a matter of knowing that that's what it is and continuing on anyway. Surrender and faith, being surrendered is basically having faith in the universe that you're going to be loved and supported. And then if we're looking at the masculine side of things, it's presence, right? Stopping the busyness. Stop the busyness. And the thoughts and the discomfort is going to be there. And you just have to learn how to not get pulled into the status quo with that. Being in the mountain as well, it is okay to sit still and do nothing. It really is. All the time, every day, right? Like, it is okay. It's not just for vacations. Giving because you want to, not because of obligation or to prove your worth or being a martyr. Boundaries, which we've talked about already, is learning to say no without overthinking or saying you're sorry or feeling apologetic about it, right? These are all the things that stand in our way of being balanced. And then action, going after what your heart desires, not some like metric goal. Like, how many people do you know went after goals and achievements and achieved success and were freaking miserable, blew up their lives? It's because they're following a paradigm that is now in the process of being broken down and collapsing instead of following their heart and their soul, right? And when we follow our heart and our soul, we can't go wrong in that. So, you know, like, this is it. Like, this is how you achieve balance, right? So you've got to do that shadow work. You need to work on the patterns and the conditioning and the inner child work, right? Human design is so helpful for this. It really helps you to understand your energy, how you use your energy, and like who you are, so you know what's conditioning and who is true for you. Having discipline and practices that connect you to yourself, your intuition, and source every day without fail. This isn't something that you just pick up on a Wednesday and then 6 weeks from now you do it again. No, it's got to be something, if you're serious about this work, you got to do it every day, no matter what. And what happens when you do it every day is it just becomes part of your wallpaper, your natural way of being, right? Having unapologetic self-love and self-care, right? Not caring what anybody says about you wanting to take some time for yourself, right? Having that divine sensuality and presence, right? Like feeling and touching and sensing everything around you, including your own body. Huge. And awakening to your purpose, right? So a lot of the women I work with are in that like late 30s, early 40s, it's like that midlife awakening or midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it. But that's basically where those two pieces of yourself, that old pattern conditioning and your true soul, are at odds with each other. You're out of integrity and you know it. And it's working on these pieces here that will help you to become more integrity, to become more balanced, to become more centered, right? So this is what I teach and what we do in like Feminine Rising and in working with me privately. And, you know, I mean, anything that you watch of mine in terms of videos or content or anything like that will teach you all of this. So I just wanted to kind of give an overview of what is balance, right? And sort of shed those myths and steer you on the right path so that you're not chasing after something else in order to help you feel better about yourself, right? It really, truly is these things. So go back, watch this video again. If you need to take notes, take notes. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. If there's a concept in here, you're like, Krisha, can you expand on what this topic means? Please let me know, and I'll do another live stream, another video about it. I'm here to support you through this evolution, this ascension, this COVID thing, everything that's going on in the world right now needs like leaders that are grounded and centered and focused and present and all the rest of it. And, you know, I'm here to help support you through this time right now and in the future. So I am taking applications for the next round of Feminine Rising. We've got our first group of women. We're heading into week 2 right now, and it's amazing. We've already busted through so much stuff. It's very exciting. And I'm taking in applications for the next round, which will begin around like mid to end of September. So if you're interested in learning more, just apply, and we'll send you over some information about it. All right, so thank you, everybody. I appreciate you being on here live. I appreciate you watching the replay. Please ask me any questions that you have. I love answering questions. I'm a generator, right? Generators love questions. We do. So just ask anything, and I will be so excited to support you and answer you and guide you through this process, because I know it's not easy, but when you have the right kind of guidance and from somebody who's been there, it's not as hard as you think. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Love to you all, and enjoy your day, and I will see you soon.